You've identified which values match with the activities in a typical week. You've made a pact with life as to how you'll infuse your deeper values into the days you have left, however many that is. And you've considered how to model your own values and encourage others to do the same.
Well, congratulations. You've just done what very, very few people do during the course of their lifetime. And now, here comes the really rewarding part, making it happen.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Taking it to the streets, as they say.
I mean, that's what counts in the end. We'll get started in the simulation we've built for you in just a minute, where you can practice what you've learned in this section. So let's begin phase 2, imagine it.
You've received, as we said, the fundamental insights from our knowledge bank about this practice. And as we shift into phase 2 and the simulation, let's remind you of the challenge that you'll be going live with this week. This week's game challenge is to infuse one of your personal values that you've now identified into as many situations as possible. Just see how many you can infuse it into.
But for this simulation, we're just going to focus on one current challenging situation that you have. And as in previous modules, you'll be using your imagination the same way that professional athletes do, preparing in advance for their challenges. You might find it useful to keep your worksheets close by. It's probably a good idea, so you can refer to them.
Yeah, so it's time to experiment with what we've just learned. And afterwards, as we've done in other modules, we'll troubleshoot possible problems up front before they happen. As we've stated previously, engaging in simulation builds new neural pathways that support the installation of new habits. That's why we refer to this process as an upgrade to the software of your mind, because you're really literally forging new neural pathways. So phase 2, practice simulation. The practice is infusing your personal values into everything you do.
So just before we undertake the simulation, we'd like to provide a fictional example. We do this in every module. The situation, and it's an imaginary one. Amir is reluctant about attending the weekly team meeting. And his old story about it is, no one listens to me. They think I'm less intelligent because I have an accent. And no one really wants to improve things around here anyway.
And his payoff is, well, on some level, I get to sit back and make jokes to myself about how bad other people's ideas are. And I don't have to risk having my idea rejected or accepted and then having it fail.
Okay, this is the moment where Amir has an epiphany, and his thriving realization is, wait a minute, I'm creating this story. And it's so boring. I can't stand it.
Yeah, so he decides to upgrade to a new story. He starts that by asking himself a question. What if I decided to infuse one of my deeper values, let's say curiosity, into the meeting? I could show my teammates that I'm genuinely interested in what they have to say. This might actually inspire some real progress, but at the very least, I'll be having a better time.
This is the super cool thing about this that I love when I do it. It's so proactive. You just choose to do it.
Okay, let's walk you through this process, but this time with your own situation. So number 1, think of a challenging activity you're going to engage in very soon. Maybe it's something at home, with friends, a situation at work. Like we said before, choose a simple situation. You can advance to more difficult scenarios after you've had a little practice. So think of who you'll be involved with and how you've felt about this before. That's been your story up till now, but you're about to change that.
All right, well, number 2, great question. What similar situations have you experienced in the past? So based on the past situation, what story have you been acting out? Where is it leading to? What role have you been playing? These are all big questions. What roles have you assigned to those involved? And what value has been missing that you might have brought to similar situations in the past?
Yeah, that thing of what similar situations have you experienced? Typically, these aren't one-offs. They're patterns,
Exactly.
Right? Patterns of behavior that keep showing up.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, it's a repeating story. It's a rerun, as we say. So number 3 is, to get clear. Again, you remember this from module 1 and 2, and here we go in 3. We're really trying to make sure this gets installed into your thinking. Ask yourself, what's your payoff?
Yeah.
You know, you could say, what am I getting out of this story as it's currently playing out?
Right, because if it is playing out, there's a reason for that. You're getting something out of it. Even if you're complaining about it, there's got to be a reason why you keep doing it.
Yeah. So, you know, there's that question, why have I not been infusing values into a situation like this? Well, maybe I didn't know better. But now you do. Now you realize you could start to infuse values into that situation.
Okay, moving on to number 4. Look at the values side of your list and choose one value that you can infuse into that upcoming activity. So select a value that you feel will provide a vital ingredient for improving the outcome of the situation. Remember, your job isn't to change anyone else. This is about you. It's about managing how you show up in the situation. And here's something to remember. Nobody else needs to know what you're doing, that you're bringing this value into the situation. So in some ways, you might look at this as an act of positive subversion.
I like that. So, think of the last 3 modules here. Let's tie it together. We've realized now that we create stories naturally. We're making them up all the time. We've come to realize now and practice that you can create stories to generate positive outcomes and success. We've realized that biases can infect our stories, and we've learned how to set those aside. And now, okay, we've set the bias aside, and now you could say in its place, we're going to infuse one of our real personal values that's meaningful to us. So what mindset, this is number 5, will you adopt that will help you model that value more authentically? How will you infuse that value into the situation?
And what biases do you need to set aside? And we can get very specific here. How will you infuse? How will you actually do it? To infuse the value you've chosen and your new thriving mindset, how will that help you shape your role and inform your actions?
Yeah, we've said it before. What will you do? What will you not do?
Yeah.
What will you say?
It
what
really
will you stop
It changes everything, actually. So number 6 is upgrading to a new story. It's my favorite part, being a storyteller at heart. Now imagine yourself in that situation and picture yourself infusing that value into the mix. Envision people responding positively. Notice how this value you're adding is increasing effectiveness all around.
Yeah, I love that. And it's as you're envisioning that, notice if you experience any resistance as you're contemplating that.
That can happen.
Yeah, are you bumping up against the limitations of your old story? Has the virus of bias crept back into your thinking?
And that's nothing to really worry about. It's natural to experience resistance to change. This is a stretch, and your ego is going to feel some trepidation, especially as you take on a new role.
So the next step, who will you need to partner with to help you stay on track? Like we've said before, is there a colleague or a friend, someone at home? You've probably found that thriving buddy by now. But if not, keep looking, keep putting it out there. Somebody that can partner with, who maybe they can watch you in the situation. It might even be that somebody you're going into the meeting with, you can tell them, take a little bit of a risk. Hey, I really want to model the value of, let's say creativity in this meeting.
Well, there's just something wonderful when, as adults, we get into the enjoyment of learning together.
Well, and I don't know if this is true for everybody, but it seems to be true for our clients and for me, that when I tell somebody I'm going to do something and they're there watching it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah, you make that commitment.
Yeah,
exactly.
Put yourself out there.
So now see yourself experiencing things going the way you'd like them to go. We've shared this before, and it's the technique coaches teach athletes to bring their mind and body into coherence, to see their goal already successfully accomplished. And that's very different than a negative visualization.
Right.
There's times, I'm not a big golfer, but I've been standing over the tee and there's a water hazard right there, and I think to myself, don't hit the ball in the water.
Right.
Guess where the ball goes. That's not a visualization that works. You want to imagine the way you would like things to turn out, not try and defend against the way you don't want them to turn out.
Yeah, we'll get into this more later when we're talking about, in another module, how to really determine what you want. The unconscious mind can't comprehend a negative.
Yeah.
It can only, so focus on, like you said, focus on what you want.
It's out there in the fairway, 280 yards.
Right, and so that takes us to the next step. What's the new ending? that you're going to be acting out. This is that chance to really transform a situation that's maybe been draining to you, to really, be free from previous biases, to imagine yourself infusing that value into the situation. As they say, it's happy ending time.
So enjoy this feeling for a few moments. We're hoping you're getting the hang of using your imagination this way. Just let yourself soak in the feeling of this future success.
Yeah, you've turned a challenging situation into one that's really been infused with your values and is full of life and authenticity.
So whenever you think about your situation during the week ahead, remember this simulation. You can replay it to deepen the advanced feeling of success and then act from that thriving mindset.
This completes your simulation for this module, and of course you can revisit it whenever you'd like. This process has given you the inner experience of infusing your value into one situation, but before we turn you loose in the 3D world, as we say, let's review and troubleshoot for a few minutes. And we're going to take you through the details of that process right now in phase 3. Do it.
So, number one, with what might go wrong with your challenge, well, as we said in the other ones, you just might not do it. But you know the drill by now. If you don't change direction, you'll end up where you're headed. If you don't infuse your values into your activities, you'll be living in compromise and just surviving. If you kind of hit a wall here, watch the video again to reignite your interest in thriving.
Yeah, and that really goes to number 2 about forgetting how to do it. Pull out that worksheet, take a look at it, work with it, maybe redo it a little bit. Maybe you want to sit down and go over it with your friend or a partner or spouse. Let this become something real, because the more you think through your values and start to make those connections between how they fit into your activities and vice versa, the more it'll become real for you. You might get pushback, as we've said before. When you start to really make a positive change, sometimes people are uncomfortable and they actually give you a little bit of resistance. Take that on as a challenge,
We know why that is. At least sometimes it can make them feel guilty. You're doing something they may sense they should be doing, and they're not doing it.
Right. And here's one of the ways to really get around pushback. The more you can make it fun, it's kind of the Tom Sawyer painting the fence thing. The more you can make this kind of a challenge fun, the more people all of a sudden decide, well, that looks like fun. I think I'll do it too.
Yeah, and it makes sense to anticipate the possibility of pushback so that you're really low-key about what you're doing.
And as we've said before, the situation might not resolve right away, but the really important thing here is if you're infusing a value that's important to you into your activities, even if the situation doesn't change, your experience of it will.
Things have their cycle. Some take longer to change than others, and sometimes things change quickly in positive ways. Well, you can learn if that happens or if it doesn't. Really let your body and mind know they did a good job, because that anchors in the new habit. Hey, it's desirable, it feels good. That provides motivation to keep doing it.
Yeah. All right. Well, this ends our troubleshooting. You're familiar with these steps by now, so we'll probably switch them up just so you'll have some new ones going forward. But it's time for us to complete this module and to really let you go live with this challenge. You'll be using the techniques we've outlined here to prepare you and execute the actual change and challenge. Here are some recommendations as you move into your week. Rehearse your success simulation throughout the week. Don't just do it once.
Yeah, and especially just before you engage with the situation and those in it with you. It gives you a head start before you go live.
Yeah, watch any athlete performing, one of the feats they do. You'll see them close their eyes. You'll see them visualizing them doing it successfully. Do the same thing.
Right, and remember to engage with your thriving buddy. You can talk things through with a friend, a coach, even role play. Asking for help's not a sign of weakness. We'll cover that in detail in a later module. In fact, all good leaders know how to both give and receive assistance.
And remember, you've got 2 downloadable audio files that accompany this module, one that will help you walk through the simulation at the start of your day and one that kind of reviews the activity at the end of your day. So you've got those to assist you as well.
All right, so you're ready to go. It's time to go live. Your game challenge: infuse one of your personal values into as many situations as possible.
And for more information and additional insights, we suggest you read Chapter 3 in our book, The 12 Essential Practices for Thriving in Business and Life.
Congratulations, you're completing level 1.
Ah, that's right.
Yeah.
All 3 modules.
3 modules about mindset, the thriving mindset. And you're well underway with the process of installing a thriving upgrade to the software of your mind.
Yeah, so keep it up. We'll see you in level 2, where we'll focus on creating thriving strategies.
And to get you started with level 2, the next module will introduce you to practice 4, putting vision first.
All right. See you soon.